So Ken St. John, COO of MUFON. Got a big event coming up, the International Symposium here in Las Vegas in a little less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Give us the broad overview of why you're doing this now, why back to Las Vegas, and what you expect.
Yeah, sure. Well, first, we love Las Vegas. We've been here several times before, and the audiences here are great, and the talent that we bring in to support the symposium always loves to go to Las Vegas. So, that's a very good thing. Well, this is actually our 52nd annual symposium. We started way back in 1969 when the Air Force decided that Project Blue Book wasn't really worth their while anymore. We kind of took over, and that was our very first symposium. And we've had one every year for 52 years, with the exception of last year, which was kind of a burden on all of us, and we couldn't quite get together. But we're back and stronger than ever for this year. We've decided to really take a hard look at this subject of unmanned aerial phenomena, UAPs, of course, with the Department of Intelligence release of the announcement back on June 25th. It caused a great deal of stir. Luckily, we were ahead of the game, and we're bringing on speakers that are deeply involved in the UAP subject. We have mostly military or retired servicemen and women, and we also have a couple of unique perspectives from the media as well. We've asked Katie Cook, who, as you may know, is a television personality, and I think what the listeners don't really understand is that Katie has had experiences of her own, and as a result, she has a kind of a lifelong interest in ufology. So we thought she would be absolutely perfect to MC. And for our keynote address, which is going to be Friday night, we usually have a big welcoming dinner. Nick Pope, who you just talked to, I understand you just talked to, is going to come out and he's going to deliver the keynote address. So we're really looking forward to Nick's discussion. And of course, George will be there with his excellent take on the UAP task force and other related groups. So just generally speaking, we have folks who are, I would call them experts by experience on the UAP phenomenon. And, one of the very interesting things we have, I think everyone knows about Rendlesham. I guess unless you've lived under a rock, that we know about Rendlesham and some of the folks that were there. Chuck Halt, Colonel Charles Halt, is going to be there, as well as Airman First Class John Barrows. They're going to be there too to do a little deep dive, but a uniquely different approach. We've asked Pat Frasona to come out. Now, Pat was actually the attorney that represented John in his fight against the government. I'm not an expert on the case, but basically it was an alleged cover-up of his involvement in the incident. So we're going to have a kind of a unique insight on how that came about and what some of the results were. We've also got Sarah Carter, who is an investigative reporter. She's going to come in and help us understand, just what is media's role here in taking the UAP phenomenon from what we might call a fringe topic into the mainstream. So we'll have kind of a backstage look at, the operation, the media, and how they go about bringing that out into the public sector. A couple other fellows that we'll have, Colonel John Alexander, very lucky to have him, a local Las Vegas native, as you know. But I don't think a lot of the viewers understand, the viewers understand that listeners don't know that he ran an organization called Advanced Theoretical Physics, and this was actually the predecessor to ATIP. So John is going to discuss its operations and some of the findings, which should be very interesting. We have also scheduled for the symposium a couple of special events. We always, when we come to Las Vegas, we always have 2 or 3 Area 51 tours, guided tours, and those are indeed in place this year again. We have 3 of them, one of which is a night tour. Those are always exciting. And we've asked our speaker lineup to participate in a couple of private speaker luncheon panels. We've asked Nick to moderate those, and we're going to be discussing disclosure on both of them, but we'll have different speakers for each one. That'll happen on Saturday and Sunday. Also, unique this year, there's so much interest in drones, whether they be military drones or civilian drones, commercial, and so on. We have an organization that does airline training for pilots, and they also have a very unique program that teaches people how to prepare for the FAA Part 107 training for a drone license. So we're actually going to run a full day drone training session. And at the end of that session, they'll be able to be taking the Part 107 quiz, which the FAA administers. That's something different for us, but it gives us kind of a different perspective on the unmanned aerial systems, if you will. A couple of other things. We have our experiencer resource team coming out to do a couple meetings. Now, that team is wholly responsible for deep investigations into witnesses who have either had an experience with either a being, close encounter, that type of a thing, or they've actually been abducted. We know with a certain amount of stigma, of course, the government has talked about that, but there's still stigma out there. So we have some folks who literally have been emotionally affected by their experiences. And we have a team, a very large team. I think there's almost 50 members or more, some of which are licensed professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, and so on. This team is going to conduct a couple special meetings specifically for those who have experiences or have been abducted. So if anyone out there is feeling like they need to speak with someone, this would be an ideal situation for them. So they might want to check that out. And lastly, I should mention that we do have a exhibitor, a vendor area, which will be running all weekend. And a lot of the folks come in who have various products and goods to either sell or demonstrate. So. And that's really pretty much it.
Tell us a little bit about the venue where you're going to be, and is it open to the public? Can I still get involved? Are there still availability to get in on this? Do I, do if I wanted to, can I just show up for a day, an afternoon, or do the whole weekend? How does that work?
Okay. All right. Well, as a matter of fact, the venue we've said it was Las Vegas. It's actually going to be at the JW Marriott Resort and Spa. That's out on Rampart Boulevard. It's certainly not too late to come on out if you want to come out for the day. That's great. If you want to come out for the entire weekend, that's great too. You can take advantage of all of the speakers. You can go to some of the special events. And of course, the public is welcome. You don't have to be associated with MUFON or any other group in ufology. The public is welcome. And by the way, if you're in the military, active military, we'll see that you get a nice discount as well.
Tell me a little bit more about the Area 51 trips, because like you said, I know they're very popular, especially during this time where we got, mask restrictions and a little bit of heightened concern about things. How is that all going to take place? Is it a pile onto a bus? Is it drive separately? You guys going to be stopping in Rachel for lunch, or just kind of walk me through that?
Okay. Well, I mentioned the Area 51 tours. We do have 3 tours. As I said, one will be at night. These are luxury bus tours. So you don't have to worry about the heat and humidity and so on. The bus tours are going to take you past things like the Janet Terminal. You're going to see the infamous black mailbox. And by the way, there's a special lunch that's planned out at the Little Alien Inn out in Rachel, which is an experience in and of itself. I think that alone is worth the trip. But, when you do go to the back gate there are things that you can see. I know, for instance, if you're really observant, you can see some of the Russian radar installations that we used when we were developing the characteristics for the SR-71, the radar signatures and so on. So there's lots to see there. And occasionally, we've actually had some of the Guard Force actually come over and talk to us. And for a change, it wasn't about anyone who, overstepped their boundary. It was just I guess they just felt nice that day. So all of that could happen. You never know.